So what does it take to get a university degree when it feels like the entire world is designed to stop you? Today, we're diving into the powerful, personal stories of students with disabilities in Afghanistan. They're not just fighting for an education, they are, quite literally, fighting for their future.
This quote from a student, someone with a visual impairment, really just says it all, doesn't it? Disability is a limitation, but it does not mean inability. A person can do anything. You know, this isn't just a hopeful saying. For these students, it's a declaration. It's the core belief that fuels their entire journey.
But just how big is the mountain they have to climb? Well, this number tells a huge part of the story. In a survey of Afghan universities, students with disabilities made up just 0.17% of the entire student body. Let that sink in. It's a staggering number that shows just how deeply excluded this group is from higher education.
So you have to ask, right? With odds like that, why even try? And that brings us to our first section, defying expectations. We're going to look at how these students managed to turn education into this incredible tool for empowerment, a way to fight back against the world of low expectations.
You know, the very first barrier they run into is language itself. Society often uses these awful derogatory terms like mayub, which basically means defective. But the students, they're pushing back. They're advocating for respectful words like malul, which simply means disabled. It's a fight for basic human dignity that starts long before they ever set foot in a classroom.
And it's a relentless fight. As one student put it, no matter how much awareness you give them, they keep using these terms. They don't change. You can just feel the frustration in that, right? The emotional weight of constantly having to justify your own humanity.
So for these students, getting an education isn't just about learning facts and figures. No way. It becomes this powerful act of resistance. It's their way of saying, I am not what you call me. It's their way of proving to the world and to themselves that disability is absolutely not inability.
And thankfully, they often don't have to do it completely alone. Family support can be a total game changer. This quote is so telling. My father always told me that education is important, and since I wouldn't be able to do physical labor due to my disability, I should focus on studying. I mean, that kind of encouragement, that belief from someone you love, it can be the one thing that sets them on this incredible path. But okay, getting university is one thing. Surviving it, that's a whole other story. So welcome to part 2, the University Obstacle Course. We're about to see what it's like to navigate a system that, frankly, was just not built with you in mind. And the barriers they face really fall into 3 main categories. First, you've got the physical stuff. No ramps, no elevators, dorms, and even restrooms that are impossible to use. Then there are the resources, or lack thereof. We're talking no braille books, no audio materials, no modern tech to help them learn. And finally, you have the attitudinal barriers. Faculty who are unsupportive, a real lack of empathy, and no formal support systems to turn to. It's a constant multi-front battle every single day. And these physical barriers aren't just an inconvenience, they're real, and they have real consequences. Listen to this from one student. My entrance exam was held on the 3rd floor. I had to rely on classmates to help me navigate the stairs. Think about that. On day 1, for the most important test of your life, the building itself is working against you.
And if you think that's bad, the attitudinal barriers can be just as devastating, if not more so. A student with a physical impairment who literally couldn't write was in an exam. They told the teacher, I can't write, what should I do? And the teacher's response, what do I care? Write however you can. I mean, it's just a shocking level of neglect, a total lack of basic empathy from the very people meant to support them.
So, with all of that negativity, with all of those barriers, how do you keep going? Well, that's where moments of support become absolutely pivotal. So in Section 3, we're going to look at how these students find the allies they so desperately need to stay in the fight.
And the contrast here is just night and day. On the one hand, you have the crushing stigma. As one student said, people would tell me that a blind person should just stay at home. But on the other side, you see the power of real friendship. My friends treated me as if I were completely healthy. I've never felt weak or different. That simple act of being treated as an equal, it can be an absolute lifeline.
And this is such a key turning point. For many of these students, just passing an exam or getting into university in the first place is a monumental victory. Each little academic success chips away at all that negative self-talk, all that internalized stigma, and it proves to them more than anyone that they can do it. It rebuilds their self-confidence from the ground up. So they do it. They persevere, they succeed, and they graduate. It should be the finish line, right? But what comes next? Well, in Section 4, we look at the brutal glass ceiling they face after graduation, where all those high aspirations collide with some very harsh new realities.
After years and years of fighting just to get through the system, the goal is crystal clear. They want a career. They want a chance to contribute. They want a future. They have earned their degrees, and they are so ready to use that hard-won knowledge.
But then, they hit a wall. This quote from a graduate is just heartbreaking. The officials we met did not trust us enough to give us a job. All that work, all that incredible resilience, and it comes down to a lack of trust. It's just undone by prejudice in the job market.
So, what's really going on here? Let's be clear. It's not because they aren't qualified. This is a systemic failure, plain and simple. We're talking about widespread stigma and skepticism from employers, workplaces that are completely inaccessible, and there's even a 3% employment quota for people with disabilities, but it's almost never enforced. The system basically sets them up to fail right after they've achieved the impossible.
Okay, so it's easy to feel discouraged hearing all this. But what's the solution? Our final section looks at exactly that. What must change? We're going to lay out the blueprint for building a system of true, meaningful inclusion.
And the research lays out a really clear 4-step path forward. Number 1, establish dedicated disability support offices in universities. This is a must. Number 2, make inclusive teaching training mandatory for all faculty. They have to know how to support all their students. 3, actually enforce that 3% employment quota. Put some teeth into the policy. And finally, number 4, invest in real accessibility, from physical ramps to modern assistive technology. These are concrete, actionable steps, not just wishful thinking.
And all of this brings us to one final thought. The stories we've heard today are just these incredible monuments to human resilience. These students have overcome barriers most of us can't even imagine. But it leaves us with a really tough question, doesn't it? Resilience can overcome barriers, but should it have to? When a system forces individuals to be heroes just to get a basic education, maybe it's the system, not the individuals, that truly needs to change.